Shall I just start over because I'm everywhere. Can I just tell a story in a linear fashion? Can I please just get from the beginning to the end instead of all this back and forth and tangents and stuff? It's so annoying. So here's how the appointment went. I went in, sat down, she went through all of my labs, and she actually did mention that my my kidneys are borderline in function, which she was like, it's not really super concerning, but also that my hemoglobin was low. So she was a bit like, that is a bit worrying that they're both kind of out. So I'm gonna get that checked by my GP. Other than that, everything was okay. I do have a slip disc, but she said it was like a normal, like it was normal for my age, like the normal wear and tear. So she was kind of like, that's the normal amount. I wouldn't be concerned about that particularly. Obviously I had the really bad bursitis where they put the corticosteroid injections in. And she said, today I am going to diagnose you with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And so I had a whole list of questions. I should get them for you actually. Just a minute, let me get them. So actually she also did mention that my genetic testing has come back normal. So that's good too. So I don't have like vascular EDS or anything like that. I was asking her about if it's likely to improve or get worse, so it's a little confusing in that hypermobile EDS itself is not a condition that is progressive. It's not considered progressive. It's not going to make it worse and worse, but your symptoms can get worse. So your symptoms can progress, but its effect on your body is like not it's not the actual syndrome that's progressing, but the symptoms can progress and get worse on age, and there's other hormonal factors, and there's loads of factors that can make it get worse. But also on the flip side, as you get older and you learn how to manage your condition, it can actually improve to some degree. So she was sort of like, I don't know how to answer this really, because it's not a progressive disease, but your symptoms can progress. Or if you do like strength training and stuff like that, it can actually improve. So it's kind of like, it's an impossible question to answer really. I asked about my bursitis because it's really severe, and I was kind of curious on if that's gone now because I had the injections. I'm still having like a bit of pain, just like normal joint pain, I would say. I guess there's no such thing as normal joint pain, but you know what I mean, for anybody who has a chronic illness. And she said it's like, how long is a piece of string? She said you might not. Some people get the injections and it goes away and that's that. Some people will have it recur. So I was sort of like, oh, it's like a cold. So like you could just like never get that cold again, or you could get one next week. Like it is what it is. So she said, yeah, it's just one of those things. And I asked her, should I be worried about getting bursitis somewhere else? And she mentioned that the hips, sometimes people get bursitis in their hips as well. So just kind of like the shoulders and the hips are like really the main places to be looking out for. I asked her about medication. Man, I wish I could remember what she said. I'm gonna butcher this. I might edit this out if it's just terrible. She mentioned something, I want to say peptides or triptides or something to do with tides. She said that would be best. She advised me, obviously because I'm young and stuff, she said please don't go down the opiate route. She was really worried about addiction and the fact that you need more as you use them more. Yeah, she was pretty against opiates. I asked her about the brain fog specifically. I remember saying to her, I'm like as dumb as a box of rocks, and that's like the like, I think it's kind of a humorous term. I try to like make it funny. But the fact of the matter is I used to be an incredibly intelligent person, and I'm struggling to even like purchase groceries at the moment, or drive. I can barely drive. I don't know what's wrong with me. And I'm just really struggling with the brain fog and just like suddenly being an idiot and suddenly being like way more stupid than I've ever been before. And that's a difficult thing to deal with. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, and I hope it's not like offensive. But when you're used to being really clever it's hard to suddenly be super dumb. My first job was working at the NASA Glenn Research Center. That was my first job. At 16, I was an engineering intern. So like, I'm not dumb, but I'm dumb now. I'm not even kidding. What's wrong with me? So I said, will the brain fog go? Like, please, like, just tell me the brain fog is gonna go, because I can't take it anymore. And that's kind of how we got into the fibromyalgia thing, because she was like, that brain fog is like really severe. So like, do you have issues with, like, if your son touches you or like jumps on you or whatever, do you feel like the pain is disproportionate to what's happening? And I was like, yes, because he did something the other day and it hurt so bad. And I thought that should never even hurt. And the pain was like, it was ridiculous. And I was like, yeah, it happens. And she said, when you get to sleep, not necessarily when you get to sleep, I'm just struggling to think through this. She said, when you wake up in the morning, do you feel like you've had a refreshed sleep? And I was like, no, because I can barely get up in the morning. Even for the appointment today, which I felt like in my mind when I went to sleep, I was like, wake up in the morning, please. For once in your life, just wake up in the morning without hitting the snooze button 50 times, because I'm too exhausted to even function. And did I wake up super early? No, I didn't. I was too tired to function, just like normal. And I was like, I never feel refreshed in the morning. I'm always shattered in the morning, like as if it was the night before. So whatever. So yeah, she talked to me about this and like various aspects of it. I won't go into the whole assessment, but she like basically assessed me for something at the end of the appointment, because I was asking her questions about something that I thought was related, but turns out wasn't. I asked her about POTS specifically, because I've talked to you guys about this before, that I'm concerned I could have some sort of dysautonomia, and my heart racing is like, it's so bad. And yeah, I mean, she was kind of like, they'll probably just manage you conservatively anyway, so you know what I mean. The thing that doctors do where they try to get you to not get diagnosed with something, like, it's kind of pointless if you're not on the floor constantly. Well, to me it's not. I don't know how else to say it. I clearly feel like if I have an issue, I should be diagnosed with something, even if they're not going to manage me conservatively, or even if they are going to manage me conservatively. Even if there's nothing anyone can do, I still want the diagnosis, because I feel like it's an important part of my medical history, and also my children's, because if I'm not diagnosed with anything, then what if my daughter or son has the issue and they're like, do you have any sort of what do they call it, family history? And everybody's gonna have to say no, but my mom's always had it, and the doctors wouldn't let her get diagnosed with it because they said, you're not passing out 24/7. So I don't get that. Why do doctors do this? And she's the best doctor I've ever seen, this lady. So anyway, yeah, so I guess that was my last question, really. So yeah, I guess I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and fibromyalgia, which I'll have to look into, because like, I did kind of not know anything about it. I always thought that was, I hate to say this, I'm gonna get hate for saying this, because I'm obviously dumb, so don't get me wrong, I don't think I'm clever for saying this, but I thought that it was just something that doctors say when they can't figure out what you have. But anyway, I don't know, here we are. I have EDS and fibromyalgia, I guess, at this point. Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel any different. I guess I thought I might get really emotional in the appointment, but I didn't. I guess I did have a lot of questions, and I do feel like they were adequately answered, which I think is more than I can say for most of my appointments, is that she really listened to me and like answered every question that I had really adequately. The only other thing that happened that I haven't mentioned yet is that I just thanked her for listening to me. I told her I've never really had any doctors listen to me like that before, where I could just tell her what was going on and she would either give me like appropriate advice or diagnose me with something, which of course nobody wants diagnosed with anything, but you know what I mean. When you're suffering with something, or you have questions, or you're confused about an aspect of your health, you need adequate answers, and everything that I said, she was just really knowledgeable. Nothing tripped her up. She knew what she was talking about. And I feel like the questions that I asked were just like normal people questions, you know. She didn't make me feel dumb. She just kind of answered my questions, and I felt like she was being really honest as well. She didn't sugarcoat anything, but she wasn't rude either, which is just right. She was just the right amount of everything. And I'm really happy with my appointment. I'm really happy with the doctor that I chose. And I've never had a doctor quite like that. So as I was leaving, I just said, thank you so much. You like really listened to everything that I've said. And I've just never had a doctor do that before. I've always had experience with doctors with this undertone that they either don't believe me or they just don't know what's going on, so they kind of need to fob me off. Yeah, and she seemed to really understand, and that's an experience that I don't usually have, and I was grateful for that. I guess that's it. I don't know what else to say. I guess I'm done. I'm diagnosed now. And most people would think of this as just the start of everything. But I think of this as the hardest bit. The hardest bit is over, and that's having something that's undiagnosed and you know something's wrong and you're not getting anywhere. That's the worst bit. And I feel like it might just be the beginning, if you know what I mean. But to me, it might be the beginning, but the worst is over. Now I can at least move forward with knowledge. And that means something to me.